economic stimulus, but again, our lobbyist is telling us that the money for economic stimulus will come through existing programs and will not be dealt with as separate appropriations. So they are going through the normal process as far as funding for the various agencies. There are a couple of other requests that we will be working with your board on relating to what's called appropriation bills. And transportation is up for reappropriation, which is will be a major funding bill. And our office will be working again with board members to identify some specific projects in transportation. We're also doing some work with Army Corps, which has an appropriation issue that's coming up again this year. So we really are working on three fronts on the federal level. One is with economic stimulus through the Obama administration through normal funding sources, the earmark process, which will be 6 to 8 projects, and then finally the appropriation project for those specific targeted bills for transportation and Army Corps. So we've got a lot of work to do here within the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we'll be bringing the package forth first to general government, then to your entire board on February 3rd. I encourage you to make time in your schedules for when Lisa meets with you to talk about these projects, because we are in a fast track.
Any questions? Okay, how about you have a short and brief budget report or none? Or
I'll have to get, yes, Jennifer is here.
Okay.
Jennifer does have a budget officer report for us.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board of Supervisors. I have a brief update on what's coming out of the state budget. On Monday, January 5th, a special session was again called, and the Democrats' proposal for reducing an estimated $18 billion in the state budget deficit was presented to the governor. The governor quickly vetoed this proposal, stating that more work still needed to be done to stabilize the local economy. Governor Schwarzenegger intends to formally submit to the legislature, I believe as of yesterday, his proposal as the only financially responsible solution to a budget gap estimated to reach $41.6 billion by the middle of next year. Legislative analysts have questioned the degree of borrowing Schwarzenegger is requesting, giving the turbulent credit markets and investors' shaky faith in the ability of California lawmakers to fix the state's fiscal problems. There is also a question of the state's ability to access capital markets and whether it would be legal to use short-term debt to balance the state's budget. A special election would also have to happen in the spring for voters to approve the lottery plan in his proposal. On other brief updates, I wanted to give the board some time frames as to some of the projects that the executive office is working on. The cost-benefit analysis that the board has directed the executive staff to do for the solid waste privatization is prepared to come back to the board either on the February 3rd or the following board meeting. As well, during the final budget hearings in August of 2008, the CEO stated that the Teeter plan would be reviewed and analyzed relative to a comprehensive amortization schedule and payment on the $11 million debt owed back to the county treasury. The executive office will be presenting this information during a part of ongoing 2009-10 budget discussions on May 18th. Regarding potential 2008-09 budget deficit and revenue shortfall, on December 9th, the Executive Office presented a projected budget shortfall for 2008-09 with several options to the board in establishing a target expenditure reduction to give to staff. The projected shortfall in property and sales tax revenue at that time was $835,000. In reviewing potential state and federal cuts, the general fund shortfall is now projected to be $2 million with established as the target. The Health and Human Services Agency Director will report out today at 1:30 the additional projected shortfall. And for the public's information, the board has also stated out of closed session on January 6th the authorization for the county staff to pursue seniority lists with merit systems and civil service for potential layoffs and furloughs to meet the projected shortfall. And that's it. That's all I have today. Is there any questions?
any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a precise question of Ms. Wyatt, but I believe that on the Williamson Act subvention funding, we need to ferret out what the true cost is going to be to the county, given that it looks like it is going to be cut.
We have projected, right now, we have already, in our 2008-09 budget, projected out the 10% cut that was already proposed during the adoption of the state budget. In addition to that, there would be $500,000 additional cuts to our revenue for the Williamson Act if the cuts are imposed based on the January proposal by the state governor.
Jennifer, on the other side of that, if the state of California eliminates the Williamson Act, now, what you're talking about is a subvention that the state reimbursed the counties. But if the contract is between the landowner and the county, the contract holders will want to stay in that and get that tax break. So does that mean that we'll have to pay that, reimburse the state for the difference in the property tax value?
That is to be determined.
Can we direct to have some sort of a report on that and get some because it looks like they're definitely going to do away with the Williamson Act. And so we need to get a definite on what's going on with that. So can we just direct to have that, some sort of a report from the state? It's time they should tell us exactly what's going to happen.
Mr. Chair, I just have more a comment that the shortfall projected in Health and Human Services is also $2 million. So essentially the county's looking at a $4 million target for cuts in order to have a balanced budget.
Yes, $2 million is what I believe that the director is going to be reporting out today for the Health and Human Services Agency. That's state and federal funding. $2 million in general fund only.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Tom?
When we're done with this item, I'll just give you a brief CEO report also. We'll be done with that section of the agenda.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you.
CEO report.
Thank you. Tom Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer. As your board is aware, Linda Clauser, our Human Resources Director, her last day with us is this Friday. And the interim, while we're going through the recruitment process, we have made arrangements, the Executive Office, for an interim appointment. That interim appointment, a little unusual, so we thought we'd announce it officially to you. Gary Hudson, our undersheriff, will be stepping in and filling that position on an interim basis, assisting us with managing the affairs of HR. The sheriff and I have had discussions because so much of the work that Gary does with the Sheriff's Department is HR related. We think that that it's a good match, and the sheriff has agreed to allocate a certain amount of time to help the executive office and during this transition, so we thought we'd let you know that was occurring.
Thank you. Any questions? Linda Clauser, she just left the room. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank her for her service here with Mendocino County, but will she be?
She'll be back.
Back, okay, yeah, okay, thank you. With that, we're going to move to our time item at 9:15. This is agenda item number 6D. This is discussion of possible action regarding adoption of proclamation recognizing Dave Bankston for 36 years of dedicated service to Mendocino County upon the occasion of his retirement. CEO, you're sponsoring this?
Yes, we are. Thank you very much. Dave is out there in the audience trying to pretend that he's a member of the public, but that's true. Dave did officially leave us on January 10th was his last day of employment with the county. We do have a resolution that I'm not sure who's going to be reading it from the board. It looks like Supervisor Brown is going to read that. So Dave, would you mind coming forward to the podium so we can publicly acknowledge your hard work and dedication to the agricultural community?
Dave Bankston, member of the public.
Could you try and look a little more cheerful about that?
Dave, we're going to have Carrie read this proclamation here. She's had a long-term relationship with you, and 36 years is remarkable tenure of service. So I'm speaking on behalf of the whole board. We can't really, how do you talk about 36 years of service? It's remarkable.
I
and
survived.
We really appreciate it. So Carrie, would you read the proclamation?
Proclamation